Hello, this is the second part of the arithmetic progression. I have written down once again the general formula, which is Tn equals A plus D in brackets n minus 1. Once again, people, you must just simply know this formula. Now, if we look at this example, it says, which term in the sequence 14, 8, 2, negative 4, and so forth is equal to negative 28? Right. So we will start by identifying the given information. And with that, people, you also always identify what is being asked. All right. So let's see. They ask you which term. So the term, people, that is given in a specific place is negative 28, right? They ask you, where does negative 28 stand? If you would go on writing these numbers, where would negative 28 stand? Okay, so this is Tn. It is given as negative 28. All right, then we go to A. My first term is 14, so I have already got that. Identify that. Then the common difference. The common difference is not yet given. So once again, people, we can work out the common difference. The common difference we work out by taking one term, okay, and subtracting the previous term, which in this case is 14. And if you calculate that, it will give you negative 6. You could also have taken this term, which is the fourth term, negative 4, and you could have subtracted the previous term, which is 2, and that will also give you a value of negative 6. All right, and then they ask you which term. They are asking which position. So what is asked is n. All right, so once again, if you look at that, we have 4 variables here. 3 are given, or you have worked it out, and the fourth one is being asked. That is your usual easy substitution into the formula. So you will start with your formula, Tn equals A plus D in brackets n minus 1. Okay, now you can just simply complete or substitute the values. In the place of Tn, we will write negative 28. Negative 28. Then type down your equals. Then what are we going to write in the place of A? You have already identified that. That's 14. Put that into the place of A. Then comes your plus. Then what is your common difference? We have already calculated the common difference as negative 6. So substitute negative 6. All right. Then comes open bracket. N is the question that is being asked. So that will remain your variable. It will remain being a letter minus 1. Close your bracket. Okay, if you now look at the left, you've got negative 28. On the right-hand side, you're just simply going to apply BODMAS. So first you are going to calculate the bracket. So we have the 14. Then we've got negative 6 times n, which gives me negative 6n. And then we've got negative 6 times negative 2, which is positive 6. Be careful, there's a negative in front of the bracket, which means the signs inside the bracket change. Now, if you look at what we have, we can now collect the numbers, isn't it? We can add 14 plus 6, which is 20 minus 6n. On the left-hand side, we've got negative 28, negative 28. Now, this is once again a linear equation with one variable. Remember, we want to find the value of n. This is what is being asked, which means we are going to simply do Goros or again, the golden rule which we apply in equations is the opposite operation. That's the golden rule in equations, is the opposite operation. So we want to find n, so we're going to leave n. We will start by moving the 20, right? The 20 is a positive 20 on this side, people, so it becomes a negative 20 on that side. So negative 28 minus 20 gives me negative 48 equals, we have moved the 20, on the right remains a negative 6n. All right, once again, people, we want to find n, meaning we must now move the negative 6. All right, but be really careful because the negative 6 is an integer. It's not an operation. The operation between negative 6 and n is multiplication, which means the opposite operation becomes division by negative 6. Okay, and if we divide negative 48 by negative 6, then it will give me an answer of 8. And on the right-hand side, we have moved the negative 6. We've got n left over. So the value of n is 8, which means if we would have gone on and writing this until we get negative 28, that would be the 8th number in the sequence. All right, so let's look at it again. You first identify all your variables, Tn, A, D, and N. One of those must be asked, and the other 3 are given. Then you substitute that into your value. Then you do your normal algebra. Okay, going for bottom as always. Then doing the golden rule, which is the opposite operation. And by that, you will find the value of n. Okay, the third video on questions on arithmetic progressions. Once again, people, remember we are working with one formula, Tn equals A plus D in brackets n minus 1. If we look at this example, they're giving you the 5th term, which is equal to 8, and the 12th term, which is equal to 50. So they do not give you term 1 to 3 as usual. They give you the 5th term and the 12th term. And they say find A and D. Now, immediately, people, there are 2 variables. You must find A as well as D. So that's 2 variables. And when we have 2 variables, your mind should go to simultaneous equations, okay, which you have done in algebra. That is the only place where we learned how to actually calculate 2 variables at the same time. So once again, you start by identifying the given information. All right. Now Tn, people, they don't ask you for Tn. They also don't give you Tn. In fact, they give you term 5, right? So term 5 equals 8. And they also give you term 12. So term 12 equals 50. This is already different. All right. Then A is what is being asked. So that is a question mark. They also ask you D. So D is also a question mark. Once again, people, here it makes it clear that I've got 2 variables. All right. And if I have 2 variables, my mind should go to simultaneous equations. Now N. Okay, now importantly, for 8, the number, the position is 5, isn't it? And for 12, the position, for 50, the position is 12. So that's the 12th position, and this one is the 5th position. Okay, now let's start once again with our formula. Tn equals A plus D n minus 1. If we now look, term 5 is on the 5th position. This will give me one equation, isn't it? I cannot mix term 12 and term 5 into one equation. We don't have such an equation. So we have only got an equation for one term. All right. So now term 5 is 8. I substitute the 8 equals. A is being asked, so that will remain A, plus D is being asked, so that will remain D, minus in 4, 8, the position is 5 minus 1. Okay, and if we now simplify this, this gives me 8 equals A, 5 minus 1 is 4, times D is plus 4D. Right, I now got an equation with 2 variables. But also remember, people, you are given the 12th term, which is 50. So I will use another equation, and in the place of Tn, I will write 50, which equals A is being asked, so that remains A. D is being asked, so that remains D. And then open bracket, in 450 is the 12th position, so that's 12 minus 1. Okay, and now once again, if we simplify that, 50 equals A plus 12 minus 1 is 11, times D is 11D. All right, so now I want you to think and recognize we've got 1 and 2 equations. That is what we done when we did simultaneous equations. With simultaneous equations, we've got 2 possible solutions or methods of solving. The one is elimination, and the other one is what we call substitution. Now, if you remember correctly, elimination we use when the coefficient of one of the variables is the same. So now if you look at the coefficient of A, it's 1. And of this A is also 1. So I am deciding to actually use the elimination method. The elimination method, you write your equations underneath each other. Doesn't matter which way around. I now change them around. 1A plus 4D. Okay, which is equation 1. Oh, I'm sorry. 50 equals 1A plus 11D, which comes from equation 2. And 8 equals 1A plus 4D, which comes from equation 1. All right. And the elimination method, we will then simply add or subtract the one equation from the other one. Okay, I do add or subtract. How do you actually calculate it? Remember, you want to get this to a 0. You want to eliminate, get rid of one of the variables. Okay, so you can test 1 plus 1, that's 2. So addition is not going to work. Then try the subtraction. 1 minus 1 is 0. Remember, one of the variables must be eliminated. We want to get them to 0. All right, and then you just simply do the remainder of the equation. If you have 50 minus 8, it gives you 42. Then we have the equal sign. The A we have eliminated. Now we must have 11 minus 4, which gives me 7D. And with this, once again, people, I've got a linear equation, only one variable. I want to find the value of D. Okay, which now means, again, I will use the golden rule, which is the opposite operation. I have to take the 7 to that side. It is multiplied here. I must divide it there, and 42 divided by 7 equals 6. So the value of D, the value of D equals 6. Now I have the first answer. Remember, I must still find A. I already calculated D. D is 6, okay? But I must also calculate A. So that's now easy. I take either one of these equations, let me take the one with the smaller digit. So I take equation 1, which is 8 equals a plus 4d. But now remember, I have calculated d as being 6. So instead of d, I will now write 6. I substitute my value, right? The remainder of the equation is the same. Okay, then again we just simply calculate 8 equals a plus 24. Now we want to find a, right? Let's take over the 24, which becomes negative on this side. That gives me an answer of negative 16 equals, on the right hand side, I've got a left over the 24 I have taken. Okay, and lastly, people, remember that you can do your check. You can use either one of these equations. You can substitute d with 6 and a with negative 16. So you're going to use both of your answers, and then you calculate whether the left-hand side equals the right-hand side. All right, let's go back and let's just check again. This one is slightly different because they give you the fifth term, which is 8. So they give you T5, which is equal to 8. And they give you the 12th term, so that's T12, which is equal to 50. They ask A, they ask D, right? And the positions are given because this is the 5th, so that's 5. And this is the 12th, so N equals 12. So immediately, people, you should recognize the simultaneous equations because you've got two different variables. Both of them are asked, okay? And you've got two different equations for the arithmetic progression. You've got T5 and you've got T12. So you will write your equations in each case. You will then have two variables, which tells you that you must use simultaneous equations. In this case, we have used elimination because the coefficient of A is the same. Then we eliminate one variable. In this case, it was A. We can calculate D. In the next step, you substitute your answer, your first answer, into one of the equations. For that, you can calculate the second variable.